Hello, Scorpio, and welcome to my Body and Heart Tarot Therapy. First of all, Happy New Year and Happy New Decade for that matter. I really hope you had an amazing end of the 2019, which was quite intense for most of us. And yeah, I hope you managed to, sorry, wrap that up in a way that made sense to you and that you found the closure that you needed, because it's not just the end of the year, it was the end of an entire decade, so it feels kind of like a big thing, ending of cycles, beginning of another cycle, a 10-year cycle. So yeah. mm, Depends, of course, about where you're at in your life and how you're connecting with the energy yourself. But yeah, there's some big planetary shifts that we're all feeling at this point. There's a full moon coming in a few days on the 10th in Cancer, and it's also eclipse, so we're in eclipse season. It's quite an intense period for many of us right now, and I think we're being asked to really look deep at what we need to wrap up still, what we're still carrying with us in this new uh, mm, really big cycle. Anyhow, let's see what's coming up for you, Scorpio. I hope you're well. This is a general reading for Scorpio, Sun, Moon, and Rising signs. If it resonates, it resonates, and if it doesn't, then it's just not your reading. Don't try to fit it in or stretch it to fit your story. Use your own intuition to take what works for you and let the rest go. It is general, so it really, there's going to be multiple messages. Not all of them fit absolutely everybody. Right, my loves? Yeah. This Ten of Swords came up like crazy in this month reading. And that's because exactly what I was saying is the end of this decade. It's 10 years. And we're being called to end some of our patterns and to bring light into the darkness. But it's an end of a pattern, it's an end of a cycle. And yeah, let's see where this is going. What's your challenge? The High Priestess is your challenge. The Three of Swords is your focus. The Three of Wands as your advice. And the Queen of Pentacles as your future energy. Very well. And the Nine of Swords as your underlying energy. Interesting to have the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Swords in the same reading. Nine of Swords as your underlying energy, Ten of Swords as your current energy. That's very interesting time-wise, I think. I'll put out the clarifiers before we go any deeper into this conversation. There's a lot to talk about. It's going to be a long reading, Scorpio. Alright, so we have swiftness, the Eight of Wands with the Moon and the Ten of Swords as your current energy. We have the Queen of Wands with the High Priestess as your challenge. The Five of Cups with the Three of Swords as your focus. Wow. The Eight of Swords with the Three of Wands as your advice. And the Knight of Swords with the Queen of Pentacles as your future energy. And bottom of the deck, it's the Eight of... What is this? Eight of Pentacles with the Nine of Swords as your underlying energy, which in this case is called prudence. And the Nine of Swords usually refers to anxiety and fear of the future. But this fear of the future, it's always based on our past. It's based on our what we perceive as failures, or what we are afraid to not to happen again, or some type of self-fulfilled prophecy that we fear that this might happen, based on how we perceive ourselves from a very young age, most of the time based on our limiting beliefs. And with prudence here, as also coming together with this Nine of Swords, yeah, maybe, sorry, with the prudence here, maybe you're asked to not really buy into these stories that come up right now. Be a little bit more prudent about how what you allow in, really, inside of your conscious awareness, not conscious awareness, because you want to be aware of this, more like inside of your heart, inside of your perception of the self. Huh. Yeah, that makes more sense. The Nine of Swords, you see, like this guy is like not able to sleep here, and there's all these swords here on the black background. The swords symbolize the thoughts, right? It's energy of the mind, and there's like nine of them here sitting on this black background, symbolizing that there is somewhere in the back of your mind, in your subconscious, and either you deliberately put them there because you just don't want to deal with them. It's something that's really heavy for you and you can't really deal with it right now, or you think you can't, and you're doing everything you can to distract yourself and to ignore, I don't know, whatever is your elephant in the room. And it may be that it comes up at night, in dreams, in nightmares, in sleeplessness, and yeah, in fear and anxiety, right? But these thoughts, these thoughts that are in the back of your head, most of the time they're not accurate. They're, as I said, based on some limiting beliefs from the past, and they can be very cruel. They can be very rough. They can be very dark, um, and usually towards ourselves. And if we ignore them, if we push them down, they end up manifesting against other people, because what we don't want to see about ourselves pisses the shit out of us at other people. Like, really, we can't stand them. And you can notice, the more annoyed you are at people in general, the more you're actually shoving off from your conscious awareness, because you just don't really know how to work with this. Now, with the Eight of Pentacles, I think you are learning this month how to work with this. You're learning how to take off sword by sword and investigate a little bit. What's the validity of this thought? Is this real or not? Does it have any basis in reality, or is it just a myth that I created about myself and how bad I am, or how I'm not good enough, or how I deserve this or don't deserve this, and how um, I will never be loved, or I will never find the right person, or I will never fix, heal some old wounds or old relationship, that type of stuff. And it can go much, much, much crueler with ourselves. Like, if we really watch what's our inner dialogue, sometimes can go, whoa, we're like, whoa. Of course, depends on each and every one of us and how much work we've really put. But the more work you put, and the more you really like start bringing it to the light, the deeper you get, and you start discovering things that you never thought were there and could be there. And there's a saying that there's something that really showed up for me when I first opened myself up to my spiritual awakening. It was right around the eclipse in 2017. And yeah, I was aware of many stuff, but I wasn't aware of the depth of consciousness, awareness, and all that. And around the eclipse, I did this like art workshop, and I really felt the. I finally, and it was I was working on shadow work. I was in a mindfulness center, and I was like, really doing some very deep shadow work, very intense. The whole week it was everything, workshops, meditations, everything, counseling, everything was on shadow work. And it was very inspiring having the eclipse back then. Yeah, it was also January, I think, 2017 or 2018. No, I think it was, yeah, it was 2018. And it's 2 years ago. Oh, not that long, and it feels like an eternity. And yet it feels so long. Sorry, not to go too deep into my memoirs and shit. But the point was that, I realized in that moment as I was studying this whole art this, subject around the eclipse and shadow work, that the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. The brighter the light, the darker the shadow. The more we bring awareness, the more we bring the light. I don't know. Let me see if I can. You see, if I come like this, it looks more like gray zone. The more I come closer, you see, there's more light in here, and the rest becomes much darker. Also, the shadows that are these card leaves around, they feel much darker. Um, that's in a similar way it goes also with our consciousness. Now we start going deep in certain areas, and we finally bring so much light into these dark corners, light of awareness. That doesn't necessarily need to get religious or to of course it's about spirituality, but it doesn't need to go into too deep conversations about that. What's more important is to understand how our minds work, and we bring more and more awareness into certain corners of our mind, but the more we like keep the awareness just there, the other parts get more obscure. Also, it's not just that, is that we get like this part of me gets like a head start, it's advancing a little bit, and the others kind of are left behind. So I assume somehow, because I'm focusing on, say, this side, I'm assuming that, oh my god, I'm so advanced, look at me, I'm feeling so awakened and so um aligned and so enlightened, in, well, not the ultimate one, but you know what I mean, awakened, let's put it this way. But that's just here. Now we need to move and shift a little bit and see what's also in the rest of our mind. Let's see what's also in the rest of the compartments that we create in order to make sense of our reality. That was a very long intro. But I think you're learning how to work with these compartments. You're learning how to take this sword one at a time. And yes, it may feel intense, but you have already done some work based on what I'm seeing here. You've already done some work, and you are aware of the process. It's not going to be your first. You maybe just didn't think you're gonna have to kind of like start from the scratch again, but you're not really starting from the scratch. It's just like starting with a different compartment. And we take these compartments, and we create bridges in between them. We create connections between them, neural pathways. And that's how we grow. That's how we learn to not think from the separate self all the time, either in this one, either in this one, either in this one, either in this one, but rather to connect and feel more whole. Understand that something can be both good and bad. Understand that the good and bad are not as fixed as I thought they were. Understand also that what's between the black and white, that there's a whole world in between. Okay. So, Ten of Swords with the Moon. And I like that this card here, it's called Swiftness. This is normally this is I read this as like downloads when you finally you get a lot of information very very fast, and it's a very fast moving energy as well. It can easily be put into action. It's like something that happens pretty unexpected and quite fast. And yeah, this one's called Swiftness as well, but it feels like by the looks of this card, it looks like much more expansive. It's like and there's this rainbow here, so it's very positive really. So I think that this Ten of Swords, yes, you're feeling it right now. You an end of a pattern finally come, like one of these swords, one of these patterns finally comes to an end, and there's like this sunlight sunrise coming. So it's like, okay, the darkness being lifted. You know, the suit of the swords starts with the Ace of Swords and the Pips and the Ten of Swords. That's the cycle. And that one sword turns into all these many. I mean, you become aware of all of them, and then it can die and you go back to the next sword that you're picking from all of these, and you start investigating that one and working with that one. um I think this is not going to be too intense. You may feel it intense now. It's also that eclipse coming. So that eclipse is going to feel intense for many of us. It can be very triggering. Depends, of course, on your chart and where it hits in your chart because it's in Cancer. But there is this like strong opposition between the moon in Cancer and Capricorn, because it's the axis. I think the sun is in Capricorn, yes. The Jupiter is in Capricorn, Pluto is in Capricorn, Saturn is in Capricorn. There's an army of planets in Capricorn opposing the moon in Cancer. So that's going to be like, Cancer is the archetype of motherhood, of nurturing, of inner security. And Capricorn is all about the fatherhood, the structure, the survival skills, getting things done, very cardinal, very fast, very fast moving. I think this like the and all that's happening in Capricorn right now with all the planets that I just mentioned. That's a lot. That's really a lot. And these are heavy themes. Like Pluto's talking about death and transformation. Saturn's talking about like time and limitations. And Jupiter, on the other hand, talks about expansion and growth and getting things done, but in a different way. And so they may feel very heavy tensions between these parts of ourselves, themes like survival, how we make our money, how can we still nurture ourselves and still survive into this world, and protect ourselves and provide for ourselves. Public image themes may show up, how we're being perceived and things like that, versus how we find security within ourselves without finding confirmation outside of ourselves. I think, yeah, that this new moon, this full moon, is going to bring a lot to you. That's why it's in your current energy right now. But the moon illuminates the shadows. That's what's happening, and it's obviously a lot of shadow work here with these swords, the Nine of Swords and the Ten of Swords, and with this eclipse, for sure, it's it's like a portal. We can make use of this, provided we know what is happening. We're not freaking out in the sense that, oh my God, what is this? What's happening to me? Am I gonna be here forever? No, this is not gonna last forever. It's actually quite fast, quite swift. So hang in there, stay with it, really stay present with all this, because you have so much to gain. All these fears that are hidden into the shadow before, because we don't really know what's there. They suddenly become your allies once you learn how to work with fear, once you learn how to observe these without necessarily believing the stories. Without when this Ten of Swords is actually a great card. in itself, because it shows that we stop identifying with one of the patterns that we've been carrying for so long. That's why it looks like the death of something or someone, death of self, they call it, some people call it, but it's just a defense mechanism that we simply don't need anymore. This is it. And it's always a conscious choice eventually, because we need to become aware of this. Oh, I've been doing this for so long. I really don't need that now. And yes, we learn to work with our behavior based on that, but this happens first at the awareness level. And that's why this is great, actually. And here we go, the High Priestess with the Queen of Wands as your challenge. And the High Priestess is a challenge in general. It's that maybe you find it challenging right now to perceive this duality, and perceive this duality as a being two sides of the same coin. You may get trapped into dogmatic wars between good and evil inside of yourself or outside of yourself, taking sides. Maybe you were a little bit too passionate, and also disconnecting a little bit with your inner wisdom, your inner voice, that voice that comes when you're in silence, that voice that comes from within when you're connecting with yourself, when you're trusting yourself. That intuition that comes from when you're held by the moon and we're connecting to divinity. And the Queen of Wands, she's also a feminine energy. So whether you're female or a male right now, I think it may be really challenging for you to get in touch with your intuition and get in touch with your the passion of the feminine. The passion of the feminine can be quite different than the passion of the masculine in the way it manifests itself and the kind of energy that it brings, right? Because chaotic, sorry, the chaotic of the feminine unleashed has a very different flavor. I don't know why I'm thinking of the chaotic. Maybe because she's one's energy and she's like so powerful and so fiery and so strong. But all queens are driven are ruled by the drive of the heart, and they like the Queen of Wands. She's a spiritual teacher. She's the mother of beliefs. She's very connected to herself, and she's connected to the world beyond. It's like what you would call a witch, really. She's the most witchy of them all. She sees way beyond the physical world, and she has that sixth, seventh, eighth sense, and I think that you could benefit from that if you would allow yourself to slow down, to really slow down, and to look at what's interfering with you. Well, let's get it. Seems that your focus is very much on your disappointments, how you were disappointed, what hurted you so much. Maybe you've suffered a recent loss, or maybe now the feeling of loss is overcoming you with all this shadow work coming up. Maybe you're suddenly reliving certain very painful situations. Maybe you're doing some child work, or as I said, shadow work, or maybe you're seeing you're revisiting your whole childhood or more recent past and your choices, and you may get really angry at people, or you may get really drowning in your sorrow right now, with both the disappointment card and the Three of Swords. The Three of Swords is a very interesting thing, though, because the threes are actually resolution. You have one is thesis, two is the antithesis, three is the synthesis. It's like something like getting round in there. And you see these three swords here are not really hurting the heart. They're kind of more like connecting to the heart. So I think that if used wisely, this energy of the Three of Swords can give you a lot of wisdom, because you understand that your heart cannot be hurt. Really, it cannot. There's confusion there. There's a lot of perception. Three talks of the mind, swords talk of the mind. It's all in your. It's all about the way you look at it. Perception. When somebody, like when a relationship doesn't go the way we want it to go, most of the time we feel betrayed, we feel hurt, and we keep that type of pain and the struggle, and we take it in, and we think that something wrong with us, so we feel somehow, as I said, betrayed by the other person. And Scorpio, unfortunately, of all the signs, you may have experienced more betrayal and abandonment than other signs, because it has to do with your archetype and what your soul chosen to experience in this lifetime. The lessons that your soul chose to learn in this lifetime are much more connected with betrayal and abandonment. But the thing is that this is why your soul chose this life and this sign and this moment and these parents and these people to share the journey with, because it wanted you to learn the lessons. And most of the time the lesson is that we can use our experiences for us rather than against us. And know that this is much easier to say than to do, but sometimes just planting that seed into your mind, because as I said, it's swords energy, just having a little bit of shift of perspective and understanding there might be the people that are not in our lives anymore and we felt disappointed by. They just weren't the people that were meant to stay with us. We're just meant to learn a few lessons, to but it's like the universe closing a door and saying, like, baby, that's not good for you, that's just not where you need to go. Try it, the other one, and more and more, and that's how we learn, that's how we grow, that's how we expand. I just saw that this is Mars in Scorpio, the Five of Cups. Your focus, no, your advice, that was your focus. Your focus is this right now. For good or bad, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. We need to meet ourselves where we are, and that's the only place where we can work with ourselves. So if we tell ourselves we should be like this or should do that, or we shouldn't do like this or shouldn't do that, we're just going to deepen the issue. What we can do is really try to look, okay, where am I at? Okay, I'm here. That's where my focus is right now. I'm focusing on disappointment and pain, and once I accept that, and I'm not defending, no, I'm not only focusing on this. What are you telling me? That this is why I'm suffering, because I'm focusing on the right thing or the wrong thing, blah blah blah. This is really not about this. It's nothing to blame, nothing to shame, nothing to anything. It's where you're at. If this reading resonates with you, if it doesn't resonate with you, then this is not your reading, no problem. Don't try to get convinced in any way that you are there if you're not there. But if you are there, all we can do is like, okay, yes, here I am. I'm finding myself in this place where I'm focusing a lot on my hurts, on my past, on my disappointment and things like this. And there's a lot of fear, and there's a lot of confusion, and there's a lot of all this. What can I do to nurture myself in this situation? What can I do to help myself feel safe in this situation? I'm not looking to push the situation away. I'm not looking to push my emotion away or to shove my emotions away or my thoughts about this. I'm here to help myself. How can I do that? What do I need? And you are the only one truly capable to understand where you are and what you need. Don't let anyone tell you that you need more of this or more of that. And the more we go to people and ask them what we need, and ask them what how can to save us, or maybe the more we get disappointed, and the more we get into the darker pit of fear and confusion and despair. But with the Three of Wands as your advice and the Eight of Swords, which nicely enough in this deck is called interference. And I really like that because you see you have these two swords which are like up straight, just like these two columns of the High Priestess, with the duality, with understanding of duality, with all that. And then you have all these swords horizontal here that interfere with the clarity that these two swords bring. And with the Three of Wands here, I think that you've made your choice. You've made it. You've decided a little bit about your spiritual path. Let's put it this way, and about your growth, and about your healing work, and about where you kind of want to go with your life. Even though it's just staying alive, sometimes that's still a major decision, and that's fantastic. Sometimes we can see a little bit farther. Okay, I want to stay alive, and I don't know, be kind to myself, or help myself grow out of I don't know what situation, and this and that, you seem to have a vision here. Again, it's another three. It's some type of growth and resolution there. It's like the beginning of manifestation. The advice is to pinpoint exactly what's interfering with that, and to do so with groundedness, with grounded awareness, and with I know that there's not much clarity of mind right now, but what you can do to disengage these mad stories is to what the Queen of Pentacles says here, to really connect to your body and to really connect to the earth. You really need to get incredibly grounded right now. And I know this may be something that you hear a lot, and sometimes when we hear something a lot from all the channels, we start dismissing it because we feel like it's such a general message. I don't think it's that general. Yes, of course, it's great if all of us are grounded, but some of us maybe are too into the earth energy, and maybe we could benefit from more air, or from more water, or from more fire. In this case, I think you really would benefit from earth, connecting to the earth. And you have the Eight of discs here too, which is about working with earth energy, about working with the physical, about working with your hands, about craft and things like this. And even if there's like the list of your cares right now is to do something to work with your hands, or to work with nature, or to do something for your body, or to nurture yourself, that's exactly what you need to do, because that's going to help, like, interrupt the trance of thoughts right now, which is not telling you a great story, which is kind of like focusing on you only on in a point where it's not beneficial for you. You can't do any work here right now, unless you get a little bit grounded and take a little bit of distance, start seeing them as stories. And there's so many ways to ground yourself. There's so many ways to ground yourself. There can be meditation, but if the meditations like sitting meditation is just taking you too much into your mind, do walking meditation, do exercise. Sports can be very grounding. Don't use it as an escape. Don't just go for the dopamine. Do something that you really feel your body. You really just get into the sensations in your body. Don't push too hard. Go for walks. Really go for walks in nature, and just simply try to feel the muscles in your body. Try to feel the soles of your feet. Try to feel the cold on your skin, or the heat on your skin, depends when you are in the world. There are also mind exercise that you can do when you start just like, looking around, and you're just listing things that you see without making up any stories about it. I don't know, I see tree, car, light, red, this, that, just like very, very simple words. Again, that's for you to be able to interrupt the trance of thoughts. And whenever you can, can always focus on your breath, focus on the sensation of breathing, focus on anything that will help you get out of the mind a little bit. And when you're ready, you're able to connect the mind with the heart. You're able to connect the mind with your body, and that's when you have more grounded ability to really see what's interfering with you, what's interfering with your clarity, what's interfering with you being able to really go within and find your answers, because your answers can only be found within right now. There's not going to be anyone telling you more than you already know. They're behind the background somewhere there. And with the Knight of Swords, I think that you're getting your clarity. It's gonna come here fast, and it may come a little bit intense, but it's coming. It's coming with the groundedness, with the nurturing. With you really nurturing yourself in this process. Of course, it's great if there's other people around you that can help you nurture as well, like around, if you have practice groups around or anything. The impossible made possible. Look at that. No matter how grim this looks right now, it is possible for you to get out of there. And this is the number 9. Number 9. Okay, let's see what this says. The poem from Rumi says, "Love brings the sea into boiling and turns the mountain into a pebble. Love creates infinite openings in the dark sky and shudders the earth with its magnitude." Okay. You're obviously being quite shaken here. Okay, I'm gonna read it all because this one is not that long. It's still a long read, so if you can connect with it, stay present. Unfortunately, I'm not great at reading, so bear with me, please. So we only limit what we believe to be possible by our lack of imagination. The divine has recourse to all that is and all that is yet to be. Is there any limit to the resources of the heavens? No. So then why not every impossible dream now being rendered possible, indeed manifest in shining glory upon the earth? The human heart knows everything in vision can manifest according to divine timing and grace. Yet the mind does quake with fear so much that it will not listen to the heart at times. That's pretty much what's going on in here. That fear is is a childlike nightmare. Look at this, the nightmare. So that fear is a childlike nightmare that should you offer yourself up to the sacred loving power of the great creator, you may be found to be lacking. Okay, I'll read that again because that's exactly what showed up when I was talking about this card. So that feels like a childlike nightmare that should you offer yourself up to the sacred loving power of the great creator, you may be found to be lacking. We always think that we lack something. The mind holds itself captive with dark fantasies of that profound rejection and then avoids confronting it directly at all costs. It creates barriers. My goodness, look at this interference. It creates barriers instead, truly nothing more than lines in the sand, yet believed to be forts. But what strongholds can resist love? It is like water. It seeps into every available space and changes form to survive in every environmental connection. With unfailing intelligence, it creates life from steam to ice, rainfall, the river, and the ocean. Rain descending into snowflakes, snow capping the peak, expressing itself with beauty and genius. It nestles under the earth and rises to the sky, only to return to the earth again. It will erode blockages and prevail, no matter how long that process takes. It carves the earth into shape and form. Where it is, there is life. Such is the adaptable intelligence and persistence of water, just as is the power of love. And I love this analogy with water, Scorpio, because you're a water sign, right? And I think you really needed to connect a little bit with that too. So now you are guided by this loving power to drop the doubt, shed the incredulity, and open up the mind. Allow your imagination to be inspired as though you are a child in a great garden, hearing the breath of the earth in the wind-whipped leaves, the voices of the ancestor in birdsong. The universe wants something to happen for you, something beautiful, something utterly improbable, and something perfect for your path, your own unique divine destiny. Your mind will wonder if it is even possible. People around you may wonder the same thing, but your heart will burn for it to become real, to become more than fantastic, improbable dream. You'll want it with all your soul. You may not even be consciously aware as yet what this great desire is, but your heart knows. It holds the secret knowledge and will unveil it when your mind can handle it. When your heart is much more powerful than your mind, you won't unintentionally block the incredible grace of manifestation, seeking to pour into your thirsty soul like the sweetest, purest waters of blessing. This is beautiful, Scorpio. This is really, really beautiful. I think that you're gonna come up the other end of this bit dark journey here, and for sure the impossible can be made possible. I hope this reading makes sense to you. I hope that this guidance helps you some way or another, from the Oracle, from the Queen of Pentacles, of coming back into your body. And I'm sure that you can do it. It's not easy. It's really not easy. I have all the compassion for this journey that you're going through. But I have also trust. I have the trust that you can. And I'm sure that you have that trust buried deep inside yourself as well. Thank you so much for being here with me, Scorpio. I wish you a smooth process here. It will be swift for sure. It's not gonna take long, so that at least it's a good refuge. If you resonated with this reading, please, please, please like, share, and subscribe to my channel so my channel can grow and can reach more people like you in need for this type of messages. Yes, well, Happy New Year again. Have a beautiful transition into the new decade. And may our practice benefit all beings.